Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Biggest upset in the Wimbledon so far. Former champion Rafael Nadal crashes out in the second round, loses to 102nd seed qualifier. International Monetary Fund says Greece needs an extension of its debt even as its report revises the country's growth to zero. BJP MP Hema Malini injured in an accident involving her car in Dausa in Rajasthan. A 4-year-old child is killed in the mishap. National mobile portability becomes a reality from today. Users will be able to retain mobile numbers while changing cities. And India's men's hockey team will face Belgium in the World Hockey League semi-finals today. Our top focus on the bulletin this morning. In the biggest upset of the tournament so far, two-time champion Rafael Nadal made another early exit from Wimbledon after losing in the second round to a 102nd ranked qualifier, Dustin Brown. The hard-hitting German played the match of his life. Here's the match report.
Ranked at a lowly 102 in the world, the Germans saw off the number 10 seed in 4 sets, winning 7-5, 3-6, 6-4, 6-4 to reach the third round of Grand Slam for only the third time.
Mark that one down for shot of the day.
That made it 4 years in a row that Nadal has exited early at Wimbledon, having lost in the second, first, fourth and now second rounds on his last 4 visits to SW19.
Trying to get the ball out from right on top of it.
The Spaniard, who has slipped down the sports pecking order and was seeded 10th after a year of injury and below par performances, was no match to Brown, who unleashed a barrage of thunderous serves and ground strokes mixed with clever drop shots.
6-3 wants it all.
It was the 29-year-old's first ever defeat to a qualifier at a Grand Slam and came in the aftermath of losing his French Open crown, where he had been champion 9 times.
No, I am a good loser. When I am not that good, I always accept. Another thing is I am not happy, but accept that I am not enough good. I never considered myself that good to not accept when somebody is better than you, in the last couple of.
Nadal had the luxury of the first break for a 3-1 advantage in the opening set, which was quickly cancelled out by Brown in the 5th game.
He really did.
Brown, gambling his chances on serve and volley, broke in the 12th game to take the set.
I think all the kids that play tennis dream on being able to play on that center court, and then playing against him there is special, and then also to be able to put that performance together. It was definitely very difficult, and I'm very happy that I held it together for the whole match.
After Brown won the opening and third sets by rushing into the net, he pounced early on in the 4th set. Instead of striking the ball with full force on his second break point, Brown patiently played the rally, which ended when Nadal hit a wayward forehand. Brown then held for 2-0 as the centre court watched in stunned silence.
The win of his career.
7-5,
Dustin
3-6,
Brown.
Sensing victory was there for the taking, the 30-year-old Brown broke in the first game of the 4th set, courtesy of a wild miss-hit Nadal backhand which sailed wide. Nadal saved 2 match points in the 9th game of the 4th set, but Brown sealed a memorable victory on his 13th ace.
3-6-1.
The question that is lingering in everyone's mind is the Rafael Nadal we've known, loved and watched dominate the sport of tennis for 10 years, gone now. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me on the phone line this morning is the sports editor of the DNA, Shekhar Luthra. Shekhar, a relatively unknown, relatively unheard of player has come out and played out of his skin and played the game of his life, beating Rafael Nadal. And this is not the first time that Nadal has exited early in the tournament as far as the Wimbledon is concerned.
Oh, yes, Frank, and this is not surprising at all. If you remember from 2012 onwards, This is the fourth consecutive time that he has lost to, below 100 ranked player in the world. So in a way, I think not surprising. And also, you have to understand that this is probably the only time that he has not won French Open before this, and then he has exited early. Otherwise, he has been winning French Open, then exiting early here, and then again winning the US Open. But yes, you have to remember that he has been fighting tendinitis in his arm, in his elbow for last 5 years, and that has taken its toll, I think. And then Dustin also, if you know this guy, he's not any younger. He's in fact 30-year-old, and you can't expect him to even go beyond the next round. He's not a great player. He has never won. He has not won in last 15 tournaments, any round in the last 15 tournaments. So in a way, I think this is quite surprising, but also this is a warning bell that you have probably seen the best of this, the great champion.
Indeed, that certainly seems imminent. Of course, we've not seen Rafael Nadal of past, and we've seen in the past as well, Shekhar, that, it becomes very difficult for players to really come back and go back to their previous best after coming back from injury.
It all depends, Frank. Basically, what kind of player are you? Because if you compare Nadal and Federer, Federer is 33 or 34, in fact, now. And Nadal is just 29. But there are so much of contrasting games, of the two if you compare them. Nadal, every time, he plays, he has to stretch himself. He goes after every ball. Whereas Federer is complete. He plays in a flow. There is so much of differences there in their game, in their approach. But that's the way these two players are. And whenever they have played, if you remember those two great finals of Wimbledon between these two players, it was, a free-flowing Federer against Nadal. Nadal's game never suited to grass, but still he has managed to win 2 Wimbledons. So that's been a different contrasting, but a great champion. And now with tendinitis also, and also wear and tear of his body, it is very difficult to expect, Nadal from coming back from this brink. Whereas Federer could again play for another 1 year or 2 years.
But can we write off the great champion Rafael Nadal? Do you think he's got some fuel left, maybe another French Open title somewhere in the future?
Well, I think you can't say that because we have been saying this for Federer last 2 years that we have seen the best, and every time he comes back, he reaches some final, semi-finals. They are great champions, but yes, with injury. Because I remember in December sometimes, I saw his interview. He was saying that doctors have advised him probably another one operation of his knee, and probably he could have to be limping for the rest of his life. So that's the kind of injury scare that is in his mind, and that's probably is restricting his movements on the court. And without his movements, without those great stretches, I think you can't expect Nadal to win.
Indeed. And one final question before I let you go, of course, on the entire tournament itself. Djokovic and Serena Williams, the front runners, of course, but do you see any more upsets on the cards in the near future?
Well, now the real test will begin now after the next round, because from quarterfinal onwards, there is a chances that Murray and Djokovic could meet, in one half of the draw. Whereas on the other half, Federer is looking actually all set to reach the finals. Whereas in the women's section, I think there is so much of competition right now. But yes, Serena is looking fit. I saw her last night, playing her match, second round match, and she was completely in control. She was not the same Serena who was having all kind of troubles in French Open. Despite that, she managed to win. But yes, right now she's looking quite comfortable, and there is Maria Sharapova, there is Anna Ivanovic, there are Jankovic, everybody they are trying, and Kvitova. Don't forget that she is also a former champion, and they are all trying to make this time happen. And probably in the women's section it is much harder to predict than in the men's section.
All right, Shekhar Ruta, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the phone line and talking to us about Wimbledon and of course Nadal as well. Talking about Nadal, with his shock exit, questions are now being raised on whether Nadal will be able to make a comeback after injury kept him out of the game for a while now. Will we see the Rafael Nadal of past?
Thursday's loss to Dustin Brown was Rafa's fourth straight Wimbledon defeat at the hands of a player with a triple-digit ranking at the grass court major. He will almost certainly drop from his number 10 ranking that was already his lowest in a decade. And now he's facing a North American hard court season that could get him off track even further. Nadal had never lost to a qualifier at a Grand Slam in 21 meetings. Brown had never before beaten a seed at a Grand Slam event. Brown may have won the only previous meeting between the two in straight sets just over a decade ago and also on grass. The shocking defeat left his fans disheartened.
I thought, to be honest, I've been coming to Wimbledon for about 10-12 years. It was one of the best first-round matches I've ever seen. The quality was very high. Nadal didn't play badly at all. Thought Darcy's turned up, had a high-risk kind of strategy, stuck to his plan and played absolutely superb.
When Medasko finished, I went over there and I watched the last couple of points on telly and everyone just shocked.
Nadal has lit up this court like very few others. His escalating grass court rivalry with Roger Federer culminating in one fabulous final in 2007 and then a year later, a match that quite comfortably went further still. To watch a man famed for his relentless defense pulled apart by a 30-year-old who has only won 4 matches at Grand Slam tournaments in his entire career was simultaneously exhilarating and wretched. But it was in the demise of that once wonderful forehand that the passing years were most clearly visible.
I don't think we'd really even heard of him that much, to be in greatest respect. So it was quite. I mean, he did lose against Russell, but I didn't think it would happen again as he came back,
I was really surprised. I thought he didn't play quite as well as he normally does, but the other guy was just absolutely amazing. He just had fabulous shots on the day.
None of this means Nadal is done winning slams. He's still quite capable of winning big matches, especially at Roland Garros. But this is not a man who will be playing at 33 like Federer. His body is too beat up. His emotions are too fragile. And right now, Rafael Nadal's game is in such tatters that he needs to take a break from the sport he once dominated in order to avoid another early exit in 2 months when the tennis world descends on New York. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And some more sports news now. The Indian women's hockey team kept their Olympic qualification dreams alive by beating Italy in the shootout in a classification match of the Women's Hockey World League semi-finals. India prevailed 5-4 over Italy in the shootout after both the teams were locked at 1-1 at the end of the regulation 60 minutes. The victory takes India into the playoff for the 5th and 6th spot on Saturday, where they will face the winner of another classification contest between host Belgium and Japan. Meanwhile, in men's hockey, India will face one of their toughest tests in defence when they take on Belgium in what promises to be a robust semi-final clash. India have performed well in the tournament, having lost just 1 game against world champions Australia. They overcame Malaysia 3-2 in the quarter-final on Wednesday.
They go with Rajya sweeps towards goal. Rajya has pulled Malaysia level. Low to the...
Well, it's time now for a quick break, but coming up after that, BJP MP Hema Malini's car involved in an accident. A child is killed, Hema Malini injured as well. That and much more coming up. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Today we bring to you the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Amendment Bill 2014. The story of atrocities in scheduled caste children is crimes without punishment.
We tried to file one single case with the DMRDC. Not even a single DC has accepted the case.
You have activist judges for women, you have activist judges for environment, but you don't have activist judges on Dalit rights at all. Their voice is silent.
Watch Law of the Land this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the Prime Minister's office has asked the Aviation Ministry to submit a report on whether state carrier Air India services are being a victim of VIP culture. This comes after all-round criticism of 2 of the BJP's ministers, Kiran Rijiju and Devendra Fadnavis, for allegedly delaying Air India flights on 2 different occasions for personal reasons. Here's more.
Two ministers embroiled in controversies over allegedly causing a delay and passenger inconvenience in state-run carrier Air India. The Prime Minister's office has sought report from the Aviation Ministry on whether Minister of State for Home Kiren Rijiju was the reason behind 3 passengers being offloaded from an AI flight, and whether Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis caused a delay to an AI flight to the US. The Aviation Minister apologized shortly after the PMO action, Ashok Gajapati Raju saying such incidents won't recur.
Inconvenience to all concerned. We regret it. In future, we'll avoid such incidents. Another thing is to get at the truth. I understand references also come to the ministry from the Prime Minister's office.
The PMO action and the minister's apology came after much criticism of both the ministers, not only by the opposition but in the social media. But the BJP came out in the minister's defense, party saying that Rijiju was unaware that passengers were offloaded to accommodate him and his crew.
उनके पास बोर्डिंग पास था, टिकट उन्होंने ली थी, हाँ लास्ट मोमेंट में ली थी, लेकिन एक बात समझ में रहना चाहिए, एयर इंडिया जो है गवर्नमेंट की जो है सर्विस है और वो Z+ में है. उनका जो है उन्होंने BSF जो है हेलीकॉप्टर से आना था, लेकिन वो क्योंकि वेदर खराब होने के बाद वो जो है बिल्कुल जो जा नहीं सका, इसलिए उनको आना पड़ा. इसलिए उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट की गई, जो हमें पता लगा, उस समय पता नहीं था कि किसी को जो है नीचे उतारा गया है.
The Congress called it an unprecedented event, while the Aam Aadmi Party accused the BJP of indulging in VIP culture.
Here, the minister did not have a confirmed ticket till evening, and a confirmed passenger was offloaded. He was traveling with his family, his wife and child, and that too he was a military personnel. That means this is something unheard of. The minister could have stayed in a guest house there and took the morning flight. What is the hurry or urgency to reach same night here?
इस तरह की घटनाएं जहां पे सत्ता की जो शक्ति है, उसका जो घमंड है, अगर वो सर पे चढ़ के बोल रहा है नेताओं के, और वो पूरी की पूरी फ्लाइट रुकवा दे रहे हैं, पैसेंजर्स को डीबोर्ड करवा दे रहे हैं, ये किस प्रकार का पॉलिटिकल कल्चर है? आप तानाशाही कर रहे हैं इस देश के अंदर.
The opposition has been losing no time in targeting BJP ministers over the matter. Even as the Sushma Swaraj, Lalit Modi, Vasundhara Raje controversy played out, they targeted Maharashtra ministers Vinod Tawde and Pankaja Munde for their alleged involvement in various scams. Now,
well, here's a look now at news and events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and Rural Development Minister Birendra Singh will release the new socio-economic and caste census today. Socio-economic and caste census is a comprehensive exercise carried out in both rural and urban India to generate information on a large number of social and economic indicators relating to households. The census was launched in 2011. Eminent Kannada filmmaker Girish Kasravalli and Oscar-winning sound engineer Resul Pukutti will head a 10-member Film and Television Institute of India delegation to hold meetings with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry to resolve the row over the chairman's appointment. FTII students have been on strike from the past 20 days over the appointment of TV actor turned BJP politician Gajendra Chauhan as the chairman of the institute's governing council. Former Delhi Law Minister and Aam Aadmi Party MLA Somnath Bharti is likely to appear before the Delhi Commission for Women in a domestic violence case. Bharti had failed to turn up before the Commission in the previous summon on June 26, citing a busy schedule due to then ongoing assembly session. DCW had summoned him after his wife filed a domestic violence complaint with the Commission. Jharkhand Assembly Speaker Dinesh Oraon will hold a court to hear a petition of anti-defection against 6 MLAs from joining the BJP after the last assembly elections. The petition was filed by Jharkhand Vikas Morcha President Babulal Marandi. The 6 MLAs had won the December assembly elections on JVM's ticket but joined the BJP on February 11th. Moving on now, actress and BJP MP Hema Malini was injured in a road accident involving her Mercedes and a Maruti Alto, in which one child occupant of the other vehicle was killed. The 66-year-old actress received a stitch on her head and is reported to be fine. The accident took place in Dausa, 60 kilometers from Jaipur. There were 5 occupants in the Alto car, 2 women, 2 children and a man. The Dausa collector said that a girl in the Alto died in the accident while 2 of the remaining survivors were seriously injured. 2 of the 4 injured were admitted to SMS hospital in Jaipur while 2 are undergoing treatment at a hospital in Dausa. Hema Malini, the BJP MP from Mathura, was proceeding to Jaipur from Mathura in her Mercedes-Benz while the other vehicle was proceeding to Lalsot from Jaipur. Well, a look now at what else is making news across the country in our segment Nationwide. External Affairs Ministry has reinstated IFS officer Devyani Khobragade in service and posted her to the newly created States Division. While serving as Deputy Consular General in New York, Ms. Khobragade was arrested in 2013 by US law enforcement agencies for making false claims on a visa application for her household help. The Foreign Ministry had put her on compulsory wait. Aam Aadmi Party's student wing has submitted a memorandum to Union Law Minister Sadananda Gowda demanding that the common law admission test CLAT be reconducted in wake of discrepancies over accuracy of questions. The student group also urged the minister to appoint an investigating committee to resolve the matter. Former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had expressed his discontent over the 2002 Gujarat riots and called it our mistake, according to former RAW Chief A.S. Dulat. Dulat said this while recalling a meeting with Vajpayee. In an interview to Karan Thapar on his India Today TV program, Dulat briefly mentioned about his last meeting with the former Prime Minister, during which the BJP stalwart reflected about the 2002 Gujarat riots and said it was our mistake. Well, from today on, you will be able to retain your mobile number while changing cities. That's because the national mobile number portability becomes a reality from today. The much-awaited proposal will enable you to keep your existing phone number while shifting cities, say from Delhi to Mumbai or Chennai to Kolkata. Operators have already started rolling out full MNP plans, and these include state-run BSNL and MTNL and private players Airtel, Vodafone, Idea Cellular and RCom. Currently, users pay roaming charges if they use their number outside their home city, except for BSNL. Also, they are billed on STD rates for the calls. A full MNP will help them do away with these charges as their new city becomes their home base without any change in the phone number. India, which currently has 22 circles or telecom zones, had allowed intra-circle number portability till now, which meant that users could retain their number even if they shifted their mobile operator within the same city. Now, this is allowed on a pan-India basis. Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come. The International Monetary Fund report has pegged Greece's growth rate at 0 after it fails deadline to repay debt. That and other world news coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
New government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
The auction process is a fair and good process.
You cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself.
The Modi government slogan of "अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं." Soon the people's slogan will be "हमारे पुराने दिन लौटा दो."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, casting a shadow over the Greek economic recovery in the coming years, the IMF released a report pegging its growth at 0%, cutting down for the current figure of 2.5%. It suggested that Greece must strike a deal with its lenders on an urgent basis, as the country would only require added monetary help over the next 3 years under the current disputed bailout plans.
In a significant report ahead of Sunday's referendum on bailout terms, the IMF has warned that Greece would require an extension of its European Union loans and a massive debt write-off under the existing plans. It said that Greece would need an extra 50 billion euros over the next 3 years to stabilize its finances. Showing no faith in Greece's ability to re-emerge from the current crisis anytime soon, the IMF also cut the Greek economic growth from 2.5% to zero. It reiterated its suggestion that the Greek government must implement the economic reforms and return to the negotiating table with realistic proposals. The latest IMF conclusions and the cash withdrawal limits and bank closures have added to the frustration of the Greeks.
Δεν υπάρχει μέλλον πια εδώ. Οι προηγούμενοι είπαν κάποια πράγματα, δεν έχουν κάνει τίποτα. Οι επόμενοι δείχνουν έναν ερασιτεχνισμό. Και είμαι πραγματικά με πιάνει σε μια κατάσταση ζαλισμένος. Περπατάω και πραγματικά δεν μπορώ να σας πω ούτε ναι, ούτε όχι.
But a defiant Prime Minister urged voters to reject the creditors' demand, saying it would lead to a better agreement. The government assured the people that a new deal would be clinched within hours of the result of the referendum, allowing banks to reopen on Tuesday. But the Eurogroup said a no vote would place both Greece and Europe in a difficult position and could leave Greece out of the group.
Οι τράπεζες θα ανοίξουν είτε με μια συμφωνία, αν υπερισχύσει το ναι, η οποία δεν θα είναι βιώσιμη, αλλά αν αυτή είναι η επιλογή του ελληνικού λαού, είτε από φόβο, είτε από πίεση, είτε από επιλογή, θα τη σεβαστούμε. Αν υπερισχύσει το όχι, και όσο πιο ισχυρό είναι αυτό το όχι, σας διαβεβαιώνω, την επόμενη mera εγώ θα βρίσκομαι στις Βρυξέλλες και θα υπογραφεί συμφωνία.
En als men zegt dat willen we niet, ja, dan is er geen basis. Dan is er niet alleen, denk ik, geen basis voor een nieuw programma, maar dan is zeer de vraag of er een basis is voor Griekenland in de eurozone. Dat is de fundamentele vraag die wel degelijk aan de orde is.
The IMF assessments come as Greece prepares for a Sunday referendum on the international bailout deal, but divisions in Greece have sharpened ahead of the vote. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Iran and world powers expressed high possibility of striking a comprehensive deal on the Iranian nuclear program as the deadline for the accord was extended to the 7th of July. Iran called for fair and balanced approach as a basis for any forward movement on the deal. Meanwhile, the IAEA is investigating whether Iran has complied with the set of limits of uranium enrichment.
The mood is cautious but certainly positive as Iran and the 6 world powers continued negotiations in Vienna on curbing Iran's nuclear program. Iran has been cooperative in discussing some of the biggest sticking points to the deal, that of monitoring mechanisms and timing of the sanctions relief. Iran's foreign minister said they are willing to find a workable solution, but only a fair and balanced approach is acceptable.
کنم که مذاکرات به مرحله بسیار حساسی رسیده و در این مرحله با اراده سیاسی و با عزم و با کار فراوان امکان پیشبرد کار هست.
We are moving forward, both the technical level talks and today we'll have also the chance of checking some of the political issues that are still open. The visit of Director General Amano today in Tehran is also something very important. We're moving forward. We're not there yet, but we're moving forward, so it's going rather well.
There were no doubts over the intentions of the involved parties in striking an accord, but many said it all boils down to courage.
Das Bemühen aller Parteien ist ernsthaft, zu einem Erfolg zu kommen. Ob der Wille und der Mut am Ende bei allen ausreicht, das ist die offene Frage, die ich Ihnen jetzt noch nicht beantworten kann.
The head of the global watchdog agency IAEA, Yukiya Amano, met with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani on Thursday to discuss the remaining issues that need to be resolved so that they can reach a breakthrough final nuclear deal by a new deadline of next week. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, reaching a final settlement with the US Department of Justice following the 2010 Gulf of Mexico oil spill, British Petroleum has agreed to pay $18.7 billion in settlement. The offer comes as a US federal judge was expected to rule on how much the company owed in Clean Water Act penalties following the environmental disaster. It is the largest settlement paid by any company in US history. BP says its costs associated with the oil spill have already exceeded $43 billion without the Clean Water Act fine. The settlement is separate from other proceedings relating to the spill, including environmental and criminal penalties. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill saw over 125 million gallons of oil being spewed into the Gulf after an explosion at the oil rig in 2010, one of the worst environmental disasters in US history. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.